Hey guys. Okay, for today's lesson, we are looking at classification. So, this is from Unit 1, Section 1.2. You'll definitely need to read that section in your textbook as well as fill out these notes. And I'm trying a couple different formats. So, here is me speaking with the actual note sheet, and maybe this helps you guys fill it out. For this objective, or I can. At the end of today, you should, or you can say, I can classify living organisms. And this is how we classify. When you hear the word classify or classification, all you should be thinking about is that we are putting things into groups. We are filing them, we're organizing them, and we can do this with our homework. I can do this with all the documents that I give out throughout a year in my filing cabinets. You can do this with living organisms. So we use Miss Grin to determine what is a living organism, those categories of movement, respiration, sensitivity, growth, reproduction, excretion, and nutrition. And once we decide something is living, we can now file it away into its particular categories. Now, important to note, the Cambridge course book does not really consider domain as something that you need to know per se for a test. However, overarching, we have three main domains. And then we get into our kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. So when we're looking at how to classify a living organism, you as a human, you are called a Homo sapien. And we're going to talk about the binomial naming system here in just a second. But as us, the species of a human, our scientific name is Homo sapien. Now we belong to a family, an order, a class, a phylum, a kingdom, and even a domain. Okay, but you've probably heard the phrase Homo sapien. What that is a binomial naming system, scientific way to name an organism. The way that the binomial naming system works is you always have your genus listed with a capital letter to start with, followed by the species. It'll always start with a lowercase letter. Now, on a test, you're going to see it written in italics. When it's in italics, that means we would underline it if we're writing it. So you can see I've underlined it here. And of course, I've capitalized this first letter. The first letter is always capitalized. Okay? So if you were to receive a test question that says, what is the genus of the following? Or what is the species of the following? Know that the first word is the genus, second word is the species. And there are some pretty unique words because it's typically based off Latin. Okay? One last thing to keep in mind with classification is just how scientists ended up in this way. At the very beginning in science, a man named Linnaeus would classify organisms based on the way they looked and their structure. You know, a butterfly and a bird would be very closely related. But as science has grown and developed, now we classify things based on their DNA sequence. The closer your DNA sequence is of those base pairs, which we're really going to get into in our next unit, more closely related that you are, we call this the sharing a recent common ancestor. Okay, so you may have this, see it worded as, you know, which two organisms share a common ancestor, and you can look through the more closely related they are. They will share a genus, or they will share a family, or they will share an order. Especially if you're comparing. Okay, so as kingdom goes down into species, whatever is shared most closely means similarity increases. A great way to remember kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species is to write it out in these letters. That's how I do it. And you can also remember the mnemonic device, King Philip came over for good spaghetti. So that might help you remember it as well. Okay, don't forget to go and define your key terms: common ancestor, DNA, species, genus, kingdoms, binomial system. And then down here at the bottom, summarize what it is we just learned. Good luck.